What is up, nerds? Tress is home after 5 days off with the billion streams on ZSR that I didn't even watch because I couldn't. And my phone basically died and I didn't have any data left. So I'm back now and we can do more TMC on our channel with the first match of round 3, which is legrandgrand against PPLToast. And we have the best freaking commentator in the world who's actually pretty bad at TMC, but hey, I guess. He's the big Spirit Tracks player now, so they didn't hear you, so you gotta make that joke again soon. So enjoy Toadsuit and enjoy PPL and
Welcome
legrandgrand.
back to the Hearthstone Global Games.
Wow, nice ads. Give me a second. I need to load my freaking. There we go. Now the ads should be disappeared. Should disappear. There we go, and we started already. So enjoy Toadsuit.
Hi. Jesus. Keeps bullying me and I can't even defend myself. Oh well. Hey everyone. How is it going? Welcome to the match between Toast and legrandgrand, who finished Golden Sun just in time. Bless. Right, their PBs are kind of similar. What? Wait, this is not Grand's PB, is it? I think Grand has a better time. Let me actually check real quick what his actual PB is. Yeah, Grand has a 150.43 and Toast is about a minute faster. 149.45. So it's gonna be a pretty close match overall. As usual, they will do the blue rupee manip at the beginning. I don't think you saw the soft reset at the beginning, since the race started pretty fast. But at the beginning of the run, we do a soft reset, and we started the game pretty quickly to start with the same RNG value every time. And funnily enough, the soft reset right at the beginning, or right before the run starts, and then just mashing through the file select menu screen gives us the perfect RNG value for a blue rupee drop from the pot here. Blue rupee drops are actually fairly rare, so it's pretty lucky that it actually happens. Oh, they're actually both going for the 20 rupee manip, and Grant missed it. That's not that bad though. You can roll 5 more times into the wall, or 4, and then throw the pot. And if you roll again once before the pot breaks, you'll get another blue rupee, and then re-entering the room and throwing the 2 pots will give you another 2 blue rupees. Pretty lucky. It doesn't really matter if you only get 1 or all 4. If you only get 1, you will get 15 later on Mount Cornell. None of the strats is really faster. If you get the 20 rupee manip, you don't have to go into the cave on Mount Cornell, which can save time because there is a ferry on Mount Cornell. So you would lose time to getting the ferry text box. But in the end it doesn't really matter because most of the time you get a ferry anyway during Vadi 1. So it's not very important. A bedtime story? No. I'm not gonna tell bedtime stories. Hello? I'm almost falling asleep myself. Oh, this is the bedtime story. Yeah, I can drag out explanations pretty well. Let's go. Alright, Grant actually has to get, or lost a little bit of time because he messed up the manip and rolled into the wall 4 times. It's not that big a deal though, especially not in a race in this game. The early game is pretty consistent, but late game, just everything can happen. I will start off the game with just a few cutscenes, so there isn't too much to talk about besides that RNG manipulation. A lot of French people here. I don't know why TMC attracts so many French people. We don't even have brioche minute anymore. Oh yeah, if you hear squeaking noises, that's my chair. Just FYI. Attracts Europeans in general, I guess so. Alright, time for a few more cutscenes to get the sword, which will then make enemies spawn on the overworld map. So you will notice pretty quickly that the main movement method in this game is rolling. Rolling is generally done everywhere until you get the Pegasus boots. Then you use the Pegasus boots sometimes, usually when you have to roll 3 times or more, then it's faster to just use the boots, since you can also walk diagonally with them, but we'll talk about that again a bit later. Generally, sometimes it's better to walk diagonally instead of walking or rolling down and right. It really depends on the situation. Most of the time rolling is better, but in certain situations it's better to just walk a little bit. A squeak counter? Please no. I really need a new chair though. So the first part here is just rolling, basically, to get to Minish Woods. The enemies can be in your way a little bit. Sometimes it's nice to get a little bit of a damage boost, but most of the time they're just in very annoying places. Also, you can roll through enemies, because rolling gives you invincibility frames, which is actually used quite a lot. Mostly at the beginning of the run. So in the first dungeon in particular, you will see it get abused a little bit. Hey Yo-Yo. I need some tea. Voice is dying already. Alright, a very dramatic boss fight to save Eslo. We need Eslo so that we get the ability to shrink. It's actually not the only reason why we need Eslo, but the other reasons you don't really see in the game. It's funny because if you don't have Eslo, Link doesn't have his hat on, obviously, because Eslo is the hat in this game. And there are a lot of animations missing for Link without the hat on. For example, if you use certain items, it will either automatically put the hat onto Link, or the whole animation will be messed up. Because it tries to find an animation for Link without the hat on, but while using the item, which doesn't exist in the game. Just a little fun fact. It would actually be pretty broken to not have Eslo and then get the Gussar or the Mulmits. We could skip a lot of things. But Eslo is essential to get to the first dungeon, since we can't shrink without him. Jump into a tornado without Eslo, it will just put the head onto Link, and it will look normally. Oh yeah, that too, Quo. Alright, Minish Town is also just a little bit more rolling. Ooh, Grand getting a little bit trolled by the ladder. You can actually roll onto the ladder there if you get nice rolls. Yeah, Toast actually got it. That's what you would want there. Why is everyone rooting for a Grand? It's the French invasion. Right, we got no sub 10 tens. That's fine. So Deeper Shrine, first dungeon in the game. Not too exciting, most of it is just movement. The first room here is actually a little bit trolly, if you get bad enemy patterns. Most of the time it's not too bad though. Something you might notice in the next room in particular, good movement, Gran, is that they will walk into the Ezlo cutscene instead of rolling into it. That's because if you roll into the Ezlo cutscene, it takes longer for it to trigger. If you roll into it, and then the cutscene quote-unquote starts, before it starts, the game goes through the whole roll frames one more time before the cutscene actually starts. I don't know how long exactly a roll lasts, but it goes through all the frames again from start to finish, and then the cutscene starts. Pretty slow. The Ezlo cutscene in this barrel is actually the only exception. You can roll into it without it taking longer. I have no idea why. You can actually get a pattern here where the pesto doesn't attack you and just hovers at the bottom of the screen. It's nice because then you don't have to kill it, so you don't have to waste time slashing the sword a few times. When you go back into this room now though, the pesto can be in a bad position. Most of the time it's not, but it can happen. One of the smaller RNG things in this game. A real game is mostly just RNG though, like enemy patterns, whether they're good or not, and if you adapt well. But there are always some enemy patterns that are just strictly bad, and you can't really adapt to very well. Alright, this is the room where you will notice the rolling invincibility frames the most. They're used a lot here to avoid killing most of the slugs. Although they're both pretty low on health, so... maybe a few more sword slashes would have been better. You can get a heart fairly soon though. Or get one during this fight. I think Toast should get it, yeah. Gran can get one from the pot here if he wants to. Oh, he doesn't. Risky business. Alright, Matter Pillar, the first mini-boss. You just hit its head and then slash its tail. You want a 2-cycle. If you get into bad positions and can't attack the tail fast enough, then you might get a 3-cycle. For most runners, 3-cycle means reset, but 2-cycle isn't very difficult. Alright, Grand should really get a heart. Alright, there you go. Too scary for me. So right after getting the Guster, we get the best section in the game, the lily pad section. Well, one of them. This one is pretty annoying because of the pestos. There is a certain type of movement we do every time to get through this room quickly. But the pestos can be in bad positions, and you might have to stop using the Guster and slash them first. If you don't, most of the time they will just hit you, and then you will fall into the water, which makes the lily pad stop moving, and you will have a very bad day. Also, Grant got a blue rupee from that pod. If he gets 2 more from the rocks later, he can skip the cave, which is actually the fastest method, but that doesn't happen. Pray for a bonk in DHC. That won't happen. I think it happened to Quo. Was it in a race? I don't remember. Anyway. That's mostly it for the Upper only the boss is left. It looks like Grant has a little bit of a lead, but he will still have to get the rupees on Mount Cornell. So the boss in this dungeon is the big green shoe, even though it's just a normal green shoe, but you're tiny, so the green shoe seems big. The way you fight it is, you use the Guster until it starts wobbling. Once it falls down, you can hit it 5 to 9 times. It's random it's random how many hits you get. 5 is obviously the fastest. Sometimes you will have to slash him 9 times before it gets up. But you really can't do anything about it. On the last cycle, he can either jump 5 times or charge at you. You want the charge because whenever it jumps, you cannot use the Guster on it for a little bit. So it loses a little bit of time compared to just the charge. Alright, Grant actually both got the 5 jump, so we don't get to see the charge. You can actually skip one of the jumps. It's pretty precise, and I don't really know how it works, it just sometimes does. If you're very fast and precise with changing directions and using the Guster, you can get it. I also feel like moving around when using the Guster helps, but I don't know if that's just placebo. Yeah, you have to suck enough. Alright, first dungeon completed already. You might also want to know about the heart pieces, or heart containers, rather. In some Zelda games you skip them because it's faster to skip them, since you also have to take damage and stuff like that. In this game you take a lot of damage from most things, and it's just a lot safer to get it. And even if you didn't get it, saving that like 2 or 1.5 seconds from the text box, you will lose again from having to play more carefully and having to avoid enemies more. So it's really not advised to skip heart containers. Alright, will Grant get the 2 blue rupee drops? I want to see it. only heart. That's too bad. Toast got the lucky shells though. Let's go, Toast. In South Hyrule Field here, we activate the Wind's Crest. We need it for later, because we have to come back here a few times. You don't actually have to do the first tutorial of fusion here. If you just pause and save and quit out, you skip the fusion, which is a little bit faster than actually doing the fusion. You also skip having to wait for the hurdy-gurdy guy to walk away again. If you're curious, the fusion is not lost though. Hurdy-gurdy is in the cafe and you can fuse with him again at any time. Feels weird to be the only commentator. Where are my friends? So the spin attack is needed to actually get out here on the left side. You have to talk to him and then show the guard your awesome spin attack, and he will be so impressed by you spinning around randomly that he will let you through. So something that Grant just did was a roll lift. Bombs in this game are generally not very broken. There is something you can do to make them explode faster though. One of the methods is to just put it down, pick it up immediately and then throw it. It's faster than just putting it down and then waiting for it to explode. But another thing you can do is, if you put down a bomb and then roll again 1 frame later, it will do a little bit of a jump, which looks a little bit weird, but that's called a roll lift, and it's about 1 second faster, or it will explode 1 second faster than it would normally. In most situations, it's not very advised to go for it, but especially in that cave where you get the bottle, you can just go for it and not waste any time because you're in a good position anyway, and if you miss it, you're not gonna go too far away and can still pick up the bomb and throw it against the wall, and it will explode in time. Did Grant get the rupees? He did not. That's not good. I hope people get it after this. If he forgets the rupees, he won't be able to buy the... what's it called? The grip ring. Alright, he goes up. Bless. I was scared for a bit. Alright, here you can see the fairy. It's pretty much unavoidable to get one of them, so you have to get the text box. It can be nice because you get a heart refill. It's actually nice to have it in a race like this. Especially since Mount Cornell can be a little bit trolly, to say the least. You generally take a lot of damage on Mount Cornell. And if you're not careful, or get bad RNG, you can die very easily. I wonder if getting that fairy just cuts out getting the fairy in front of the big wall. It's actually pretty nice for a race to use the 5 blue rupee route. Also, if you pour out the mineral water here at any point before we're not on top of the bean, You have to go all the way back again and get mineral water again. So you lose a lot of time if you accidentally pour it out. Because of that, some runners actually don't equip it here until they actually need it. Alright, here you can see a little bit of an, I guess, oversight. You can use the Guster to just get up this cliff very easily. The Guster ignores some of the layers, which is why this works. So I'm not sure if or how unintentional this actually is, or if they knew about it and were just too lazy to fix it. Ooh, getting trolled by the P-heads. If you put down a bomb and then move just a tiny bit, it can be very difficult to pick it up again. So usually what you want to do is just stand still, put down the bomb, and then press R immediately afterwards to pick it up, so that you avoid walking right after you put down the bomb. Else you'll just roll and you have to walk back and everything is a mess. Alright, here's the infamous big wall. They shouldn't really be worried too much. They have lots of hearts left, but these rocks here can be very annoying. They fall down randomly, and they do half a heart of damage. Usually you don't have more than 2 hearts left here. Since Grand got a fairy and Toast, he didn't, did he? He just didn't get hit much, but that's usually not the case. But you die quite often on this wall. And even if you don't, there's still the rain section right after, where raindrops fall down randomly. They only do a quarter heart of damage, so they aren't too bad, but they can still troll you and kill you if you're too low on hearts. Also, Grand unfortunately got trolled by the Tektites or P-hat. If you miss that, you lose quite a lot of time because you have to kill the P-hat and or the Tektite first before you can advance again. It's one of the only annoying sections really on top of Mount Cornell here. Everything else is pretty consistent. It's also mostly just pushing boulders, to be fair. Oh yeah, and block pushing, not just boulders. They sure made it exciting. Usually you don't take too much damage here anymore. There's still 1 or 2 parts where you can take a little bit of damage, but most of the time, once you're past the raindrops, you're fine. And you don't have to worry about dying too much anymore. Toast actually has really nice health. Having 2 hearts or more means that you can skip the first 2 hearts in the next dungeon. I think if Grand gets hit, yeah, he got hit. Spoilers. Because he got hit, I would actually get the 2 hearts now. In a run, I don't think I would get it with 1 and a heart. I can't speak. 1.5 hearts left, but in a race, I definitely would. So the last screen here is where you would take the last bit of damage. Really, it's easy to avoid them, but they can also walk in very bad patterns. So it can still happen. But Toast actually didn't take all that much damage. It's pretty nice. Grand will definitely have to get the heart refill though. 1 and a heart. Dude, I can't speak. How do I English? Save me. Alright, well, both of them survived Mount Cornell, so a scary part is over. Oh, Toast actually does get the 2 hearts anyway. Ugh. This first room here, or second room I guess, can be a little bit annoying because of the bob-ombs. They walk in certain patterns, but there are like 2 or 3 different patterns that they can give you. Sometimes one of the bob-ombs walks into the doorway, which means you can't put down a bomb immediately. Because if you pick it up, it will just hit you, and then you'll drop it. So then you have to adapt and wait for it to go away and then drop the bomb. Or you can put down 2 bombs, which I actually do. It's a little bit better and still works if you get the bad pattern, but it's a bit scary too. Also the fastest minecarts in any video game ever. Is that true? I'm not sure. The middle pot here always has a bomb drop, so we get it twice to get nice bomb refills. Ooh, Toast getting trolled again a bit by the bomb. The Helmester room here is not too bad if you get a nice pattern. Toast actually got the nicest pattern, or one of the nicest patterns. If the 2 at the top rush down, you can get all of the, or 3 of them with a gust shard pretty easily. Grant actually got it too. And then if the last one charges fairly quickly into a direction, and you can get to him quickly and kill him quickly, you have a really nice room. That doesn't happen a lot of the time, unless you're really good at it. I'm not good at that room, so I get, even if I get good patterns, sometimes I mess up. And some people are good enough at that room that they can get really nice fights even with bad patterns, because they just know how to handle it very well. Oop. Toast having sword on A. Sword on A is the way to go. I approve of the sword on A's. Alright, anyway, we walked all the way down there just to get a small key. Quite a detour, but we do need the small key to open this door here to switch the tracks for the minecart. So upcoming is the mini-boss fight of this dungeon, the Spiny Chews. You can use a spin attack at the beginning to hit the 3 spinies at the left. It's okay if you only hit 2, but after doing the spin attack you can kill the upper one, and then use another spin attack to kill the remaining 3. Or 4 rather. You do have to wait a little bit for them to jump before you release a spin attack, so it is a little bit precise, the last jump slash. Spin attack? Did I say jump slash? Spin attack. So it can be a little bit dumb at times, but they both did it pretty well. For the first spin attack, it's just important to hit the one on the left and one on the down left, because you can kill the up left one fairly easily and still make it to the upper one. We actually used to have like some crazy bomb strats for that fight, but it turned out it's just faster to use spin attacks, but not waste bombs. Lots of rolling here. Alright, so the Rollerblade room is the last room in this dungeon that's RNG based and can be a little bit annoying at times. If you get nice patterns, you can get them into the holes pretty easily, and you don't even have to grab all of them. Sometimes if you just throw one, the other one automatically gets in there because your throw was good and it hit the other one. They both got trolled a little bit, but I would say those are typical Rollerblade rooms. Here we get the first kinstone that we need. In total we need 4 green kinstones and 1 red kinstone. We need 4 green kinstones for the magical boomerang side quest. Why do we need the magical boomerang? Well, you'll see later if you haven't seen this one before. It's pretty interesting though. And the red kinstone we need to make the warp appear that leads to the house that leads to Palace of Winds. Usually that warp alone doesn't do all that much. You just save the old man in the bed from his nightmares. So they can the light bow, which is what you would use that warp for. But in this run, we use it for something else. The very last room here, which we've been to once before, the last time we go in here is actually a little bit precise. There's a cycle you have to make, else you'll lose like 10 seconds or 15 seconds, I believe. You have to get both of the chests on the screen. One of them is a 100 rupee chest, or a big blue rupee chest, and the other one is another kinstone. If you mess up movement once here, then you'll already miss the cycle at the end. It's pretty easy to make it, but it's also very, very easy to fail it. So as long as you pay attention to your movements here and save the frames that are fairly easy to save, then it should be fine. This is one of the most annoying things to mess up in this dungeon. Because there's no RNG, it's all you. So Toast should make it. Looks good. Grand is gonna be a little bit closer, but I still think he should make it. Yeah, all good. Alright, so time for Gleerog. Right at the beginning you can get a quick hit on him. And optimally you would not get hit by the fire, but sometimes it happens. The quick hit can be a little bit annoying because it actually takes just a little bit until Gleerog becomes vulnerable to the cane. So a lot of the time you're gonna be too early. If you know the timing though, it's not too bad. Afterwards, you have to slash the middle of it 8 times to trigger the next cycle. You have to do that once more to trigger the 3rd cycle, and then on the last cycle, you only have to hit it 5 times. The cycles are all pretty similar. On the last cycle, he can use his fire attack a bit longer than usual, which is a little bit slower, but all in all, it doesn't matter too much. And this fight is pretty consistent. Also, yes, there are indeed Gleerogs imprinted onto these walls. For the task, it is blue. Alright, good fights. Also, this cutscene takes forever. It's like 20 seconds after Gleerog dies. Bye, quote. See you on the other side. After this dungeon, you have to not forget to get the upgraded sword. If you do, and you go to the sanctuary, well, you can process, or proceed rather. You need the upgraded sword to fuse it with the elements. It's one of the things that might happen to newer runners. It hasn't happened to anyone in quite a while, but I do remember it happening to some people back then. Blue. Did it happen to Blue? I don't actually remember if it happened to him. Poor Blue. Here in Hyrule Town we also activate the Wind's Crest. Obviously we have to go to Hyrule Town quite often. Sometimes just to pass through, sometimes to actually do something in here. So it's a lot better to activate it, since there's no real other way to get here fast. Blue in trash. This is the last split where we have a lot of cutscenes to watch. So after this it'll get a little bit more exciting. So now that we have the upgraded sword, we can finally clone ourselves only once, but good enough to push bigger blocks out of the way. And that's basically all you can do with clones. Push blocks. A little bit of a missed opportunity there, but nothing we can do much about. It would be nice if you could use some items with your clones too, but you can only use your sword. So the mob fight here can be a little bit annoying too. It's not too difficult to execute, but if you miss it, you might take some damage, or you might slash against the spears of these guys a few times, which loses some time. But they got good fights, all good. That was a fast load. Is Grand playing on PC? I think so. Nope, GBA. Oh, isn't he DS? I don't even remember. He is on DS, alright. That was a fast load. Cutscene load. Someone time that. Alright, now that we can, Jesus, clone ourselves, you can push this block out of the way and almost activate the Boots quest. But before that, there is one more cutscene. Comfy race. Back then I had to rearrange my whole room to do runs. Where was my comfiness? Also, I hope you didn't come here for lore, because I'm not the lore guy. Usually that would be what the second commentator is for, but unfortunately today we don't have that luxury. Alright, so you activate the Boots quest by reading that sign there. It says something about you needing boots to advance through the swamp. A lot of people don't know that just reading that sign alone triggers the Boots quest, and not actually going to Caster Wilds. For the speedrun, of course, it's a little bit fast to just read it. I wish so too, Mike. Nice sync. Kind of, almost. A few frames apart. Ah, why did you pause? Come on. Alright, anyway. Onwards, still on range. Still not too much to talk about here, we're just doing the Boots quest. We activated it by reading the sign, as I said. The Minish told us to get a mushroom to wake up the shoemaker. To wake up the shoemaker. Did I say that? I don't know. I don't know why mushrooms wake up people, but they do in this game. So we need to spend our last 60 rupees. We have 100, but our last 60 rupees on the mushroom, which is the last rupees we need in the run, by the way. It's kind of unfortunate that all the rupees we need are at the beginning of the run, or have to be spent at the beginning of the run, rather. Because after we get the Molmid to the next dungeon, we can actually get a lot of rupees fairly easily. But at this point in the game, it's quite hard to farm for rupees. A Toast has the better PB. His PB is faster by almost a full minute. It's like 58 seconds. Alright, now that we have the mushroom, we can wake up the shoemaker, who will then be very surprised that the boots he's been working on are already done, because the Minish kept working on them. There you go, lore. I do know something. Ooh, rolled into that as a cutscene. Shaking my head, Toads. Toads? Toast. Shaking my head at myself. Let's go. Alright, so... please, don't bully. Keep eating. Right, so as I said, using the boots is usually only faster if you would have to roll 3 times or more instead. Sometimes it's still nice to use them in different situations because you can walk diagonally with them as well. At least a little bit diagonally. But boots are a pretty nice movement option we have now. Also rests our index finger if you use R to roll. So the Dark Knight fight isn't too bad. He can do one of two things. He can either charge at you, which is what you want, because then you can get 4 hits pretty quickly by bonking against the wall and then placing yourself behind him. But he can also just do the attack. Toast is actually getting a little bit trolled by him. That's too bad, but it happens. The strat is just to bonk against the wall, so you'll be in a good position to hit him. If he slashes, you can hit him twice. The best strat after that is just to roll through him when he attacks you, to place yourself behind him again and then slash 2 more times. Most people just bonk against the wall a second time, which also works. It's a little bit slower and not as good, but it also works. And it's a much older strat, so of course people are more used to it and know it better than rolling through him. So the next fight is also pretty dependent on RNG. You can either have a really nice fight or a pretty bad fight, because the Mulldozers will just run around across the room randomly a lot. Tails actually got a pretty... They actually both got a pretty nice fight. I take that in runs. Sometimes you just get all of them very quickly because they're just in such good positions, and sometimes they're all over the place and you have to chase them around for like seconds. Oh yeah, afterwards we save and quit, and we use that save and quit to once again reset the RNG and do a little bit of a Kinso manipulation here. You do that by slashing the sword twice, and then the first grass will give you the first Kinstone. Then we time releasing a spin attack to get a second Kinstone. It's surprisingly easy. I say surprisingly because RNG on the screen actually changes a lot. So it's funny how consistent this RNG manipulation actually is. It surprises me every time. But it's really nice because what we used to do is we used to have to get 2 more chests in... That's not true. 1 more chest in Cave of Flames, and then do another Kinso manipulation somewhere else. Some people did it in the town, which is called brioche minute. You just go to the bakery and buy a brioche and get the green Kinstone. It's a little bit inconsistent. Other people did a minute in the next dungeon, which wasn't all that much better. It was faster than the brioche minute, but it was still not very good because it was still pretty slow. So this RNG manipulation actually saves 18 seconds over getting the chest in Cave of Flames and then doing one of the minips. It's quite a lot. Good find. Oh yeah, and our actual quest here is to get the golden Kinstones to fuse with the statues. Who, by the way, will get happy if you fuse with them. Look at their faces. Cute little statues. So these Armos you don't actually have to kill, you can just activate them and then roll through them. Thanks to the roll invincibility frames. You do have to shrink for some of them and enter them to activate them, to actually get past them though. If they're not activated, they just act like normal wall, kind of. But you can't get through them, it's the point. Grand got 2 Kinstone drops on the screen, Jesus. It's actually very common to get Kinstone drops in Wind Ruins here. In 100%, I used to not even get all the Kinstones I need during the run, and just because we have to get here or go here at a later time again in 100% to get some stuff, and I would just use the boots while holding out the sword to slash a lot of grass quickly, and just get a lot of Kinstones that way. It's kind of funny how many RNG or Kinstone drops rather there are on these screens. On the last screen here, you have to kill all the enemies. It can be a little bit dumb because the beetles have a stone on them, which you have to pick up, and you have to be very close to them to pick up the rock. So you can take some unnecessary damage, which Grand, for example, did. It's very easy to take damage there. Alright, Fortress of Winds. The first dungeon with actual glitches. Well, they're only gonna do one. There are 2 you can do here. One of them is only really done by the top runners. It also only saves 10 or 8 seconds, so it's not a big deal. The other glitch, however, which they are going to do, saves 3.5 minutes, since it skips half of the dungeon. Which we'll see in a little bit. Ooh, Grand is actually doing the early charge strat. An interesting fact, by the way, is that if you attack something with your clone and only your clone, you won't get knocked back from attacking it. Usually if you're attacking the armors like that with the sword, it will get knocked back a little bit. But if only the clone hits it, you won't get knocked back. So this is the only small key we need. I usually would also have to go to the left side and get a second small key to do the whole part in the middle, but we only need one of them to do the left side of the middle part to get the dungeon item. And once we get the dungeon item, we can skip the rest of the dungeon. Ooh, Toast cutting it a bit close there. Grand failed the animation canceling there a little bit. Usually if you shoot an arrow, Link takes a while until he puts away the bow again. Funnily enough, there is an upgrade which makes him put away the bow a lot faster. You can, however, also do that by just using the boots right after shooting the arrow, which will cancel the rest of the animation. So you don't even need the upgrade, you just need the boots. Alright, here we finally have the mole mitts, which we will use to skip the other half of this dungeon. So we will go right again, back to the room where we were before. And we will use something called portal items. Now, usually you can't use items on portals. You also get a Kinstone here. But usually you can't use items on portals. But by sliding against them, then using the item, and then pressing right again, Link will use the item once, but also jump onto the portal. And then once he's on the portal, he will use the item again automatically a second time. We can use that to misplace Link a little bit. If we use that with the mole mitts, Link will clank against the portal once and then get pushed a little bit backwards, and then we can almost jump onto the wall. Now with a well-timed bomb explosion, we can make it so that we just barely make it onto the wall, which then skips the boss key. The bomb explosion is 4 frames, I want to say. There is a 5th frame that also sometimes works. It's mostly just 4 frames though. They did it pretty nicely, so all good. This obviously skips getting another small key, actually 2 small keys, the boss key, and a whole bunch of other stuff. 3.5 minutes. Mazal is a pretty simple boss, once again. You just shoot arrows at the eyes, and then you hope for good eye positions inside of him, or good pillar positions, I guess. You would of course want the correct eye to be in the front row. During the second and third phase, there will be a lot of sand inside of Mazal. Don't ask me how it gets there, but it does. And you have to kind of grab, that's not the word, dig, there you go, your way through the maze kind of thing. It's not a maze, you know what I mean. And you have to find the eye. Now, if it's in the back, it can be very slow to actually get to it and then attack it as well. You can route it a little bit because the eye cannot be on the same pillar twice in a row. So based on what you get during the first and second cycle, you will route the other cycle or the next cycle accordingly. Ooh, Toast got a nice last one. Grand also got a nice last one, but the second ones weren't too good. It's very usual to get some bad RNG in this fight. Which hand attacks first is also RNG, by the way. You would want the left hand to attack first if you go left. Most of the time the right one attacks though if you're left, and the other way around as well. If you're right, then the left hand will attack more often. At least that's what it feels like. It's not a big deal, but it also loses a little bit of time. That's sync too. Alright, now for the fun part. So, this is why we activated the Wind's Crest in South Hyrule Field earlier. We come back here to fuse with Tingle to activate and talk to him to activate the Magical Boomerang side quest. We needed to skip something in the next dungeon, which you'll see, which lets us ultimately skip the flippers. So this is known as flipper skip. It's basically besides the Armos clipping in the last dungeon, which no one did, but that's fine. It's probably the latest addition to the run in terms of big route changes, and one of the only ones, really. So here we use a save and quit to manipulate the lady's movement here. Now we want the lady to walk into us just before she reaches the door. She kind of clips us into the door, and by her clipping us into the door a little bit, we can get Ocarina Glitch off of it. Grand is having a little bit of trouble here. Alright, he got it. That's good. Toast got it pretty fast. So, you get the Ocarina Glitch usually by entering a staircase. What you would do is you press up, and then on the next frame you play the Ocarina, which then Link walks into the staircase, but playing the Ocarina cancels going down the staircase, and also going down the staircase cancels playing the Ocarina. So you're kind of in a... So he stops playing the Ocarina and the whole room is frozen. First of all, if you roll or do anything like that, you will softlock the game. It's very easy to softlock when the Ocarina Glitch is active or is activated and the screen is frozen. Once you switch screens, the screen unfreezes again. Toast is getting a bit trolled by the cat. But what the Ocarina Glitch does here for us is it allows us to go into that house early. Usually you can't go into that house, there's a door blocking it. If you try to go in it, a text box will appear and the person inside it will say, "Leave me alone" or something. Usually you would have to get the first book first, then go to the librarian, and then she will tell you, "Hey, this guy in this house has the second book for you." And then you can tell him, and then he will let you in. But with the Ocarina Glitch, we can skip all of that and just get there easily. Why do we want to go there? To get the bracelets early. Now, the power bracelets here can be skipped, which will be mentioned again later. Maybe. But for now we do need them. We do not actually need any of the books, we skip the book quest completely, but we do need to do the Power Bracelet side quest for 1 room in Palace of Winds. We also take a lot of damage during the Power Bracelet fight. The reason for that will become apparent in just a little bit after we get the magical boomerang. But basically we need to die in Lake Hylia to do another little skip. So that's why we take a lot of damage there. The enemies there do half a heart of damage, whereas most enemies on the overworld only do a quarter heart of damage. So losing health during that fight is the fastest way to lose health at this point. The rest of this side quest is mostly just going to all the tingles and then fusing with them. Alright, yeah, what I didn't mention about that Ocarina glitch earlier, usually you activate the Ocarina glitch off of staircases, but you can also get it off of doors. Usually you would first have to glitch the door open, which you do usually by dying on the same frame that you open the door. Then you die and open the door but don't actually walk into it. The other way is to use the lady. Now you can use the lady to also open the door, but what we've been doing is just let the lady push us against the door, and for some reason it then acts the same as an open door or as a staircase, as in you can just do the normal Ocarina glitch inputs and still get it without the door actually being open. It's a bit nicer that way because you get a lot of tries and you can fail it, but you can't be too late. Usually if the door is open and you're too late with your inputs, you will walk into the door. So you will be in the house. If you walk out again, the door will be closed, so you would have to soft reset again and do the whole manipulation again. But if the lady just pushes you against the house, or the door rather, you can be too late and the door will not be open and you will not walk into it. So it's not a big deal if you mess up that way. The next door OG we get, however, which yes, there will be another one, that's why we're all on health, is a little bit scarier in that regard. We will have to glitch open the door, and if they are too late with their inputs, then we will see a soft reset. Activating all the torches to make a ladder drop down from nowhere, which then lets us get the magical boomerang finally. Alright, time for someone to lose a lot of time, probably. So of course we're gonna save here. Grand is gonna use a setup where he walks into the house first, walks out again, and then uses the boots and the bomb at the same time, then rolls once and uses the bow once to open the door with that setup. Alright, he got it. Whereas Toast is gonna use Ezlo buffering. He buffers with Ezlo to a specific frame. Oh, Grand had to reset. Ooh, Toast actually got it first try, nice. With Ezlo buffering, you buffer to a specific frame, and then once you're on that frame, you just hold up after the text box, and you will die on the same frame that you open the door. Wait, did he not save? Wait, when did he save? Before the boomerang? I'm confused. Alright, Gran. Oh, he just didn't get it. Alright, my bad. talking and watching 2 streams, that's one thing too many. Alright, there we go. Let's go, Grand. So using the setup again, using the boots and bombs at the same time, bonk, roll once, use the bow once, which is the perfect setup to then die on the same frame that you would open the door. And then you hopefully get OG without walking into the house. Alright, there you go. It took a few tries, but that's all good. As long as you don't walk into the house, you don't have to soft reset. So that's all you want to avoid. Temple of Droplets is the dungeon where we skip the most. We almost skip all of the dungeon. The only thing we really do is we get a small key to enter the mini-boss fight, and we get the big key to enter the blue warp room. So Toast got the boss key. He will also still have to get the small key real quick. And afterwards, something interesting will happen, which is why we got the magical boomerang. So if you throw the magical boomerang, you can hold down the button again at any time, and Link will stop moving and be in a just weird state. Now if you throw the boomerang and then open a boss door and then hold down the button again, Link for some reason will just walk through the loading zone that is behind the boss door, and it will walk into the next room, kind of with the previous room still being loaded. So he will be in the next room without anything being loaded in there, which of course lets us go wherever we want, basically. Now by getting the Ocarina glitch before that, we can do something very interesting using that boss door clipping glitch. Now what you will see is Toast will throw the boomerang, go through the boss door, be in the next room, and then roll right a few times, use the cane against the wall to set up sub-pixels, else the next thing is not going to work. Then once he goes right into the next room, he pauses, which will cause Link to spawn up on the wall again, for whatever reason, but it works, which then lets us go into this room early. Now without the Ocarina glitch, we would not be able to get up the wall, which is why we have to get it first. If you have the Ocarina glitch active, and then pause while you're inside that wall there, you just spawn up there again. So it's really nice that it actually works. The subpixels are also important. There are 2 things to them. If you hug a wall, you can be either 1 pixel inside the wall or not, and you do want to be 1 pixel inside the wall. Now you can check whether or not you're 1 pixel inside the wall by using the cane against the wall on the down right. You will see Grant do it too. It's a little bit hard to notice, but maybe you will notice the cane sparkling thing a little bit. But basically if a lot of sparkles appear, he actually messed up. If a lot of the sparkles appear, then you know your subpixels are good and you can just go to the right. If not, then you will have to walk down a little bit again, walk against the wall again, or roll into it. Rolling seems to be more consistent in that regard, and then try again. So that lets us get into the blue teleporter room early. Now why do we want to be there? Well, the most important thing about this is that we can skip the complete left side. Now, actually getting the flippers or having the flippers and doing the left side normally is faster than doing this. But because we want to skip the flippers, which skips 1.5 minutes in total, we also have to skip the whole left side. And with this glitch, we can skip the whole left side and all the rooms with water in them. So that's the reason why we actually have to use this glitch to get there. To skip all rooms with water in them. We, interestingly enough, have to go back into the blue teleporter room again a bit later to skip the other rest of the dungeon. So that room just happens to be very important in this temple or dungeon. So Toast is fighting the mini-boss. The only thing we've done so far, we're getting a small key and then getting the boss key. and then we just glitched ourselves to the blue teleporter room and activated it. Then we went straight to the mini boss. After we get the defeat the mini boss, we get the lantern, and then we'll just go straight to the boss. So a lot of this dungeon is skipped. This dungeon is actually pretty long and glitchless, but in any percent, it's been cut down so much, it's ridiculous. We do almost nothing. I mean, it's still 10 minutes, so I can't say it's nothing, but... Alright, here Toast uses the Ocarina glitch again to skip the rest of the dungeon. Now, what I haven't mentioned yet about Ocarina glitches is that the actual use of it most of the time is to kind of ignore layers. Now, if the Ocarina glitch is active and you're on, let's say, layer 2, it is very difficult to get down in layer 1 again. You have to do some special things to get down to layer 1 again. You can go up to layer 3 just by walking upstairs, and if you walk them up and you're on layer 3, walking them down again will not put you back on layer 2, but you will still be on layer 3. Which means that you're in a place inside the room on a layer that you're not supposed to be on. So since you're on layer 3, in any position in the room, you can walk over anything that is on layer 2. And some walls are also on layer 2. Which means that you can walk over some walls, which is what the Ocarina glitch is used primarily here. Oh yeah, the mini-boss is just the same boss that was in the first dungeon, but this time he's electrified. Very nice. And Toast is fighting what's known as the devil himself. So, Big Octo, first phase is very easy. He will always shoot rocks at you. Once you deflect 3, he will freeze, and when he's frozen, you will have to use the lantern on his tail to then trigger the next cycle. Now in cycle 2, it's once again a specific pattern. First thing he will do is do the sucking attack. Second thing is he will shoot a rock, which you will have to deflect. Third thing is another sucking attack, and then 2 rocks come afterwards. So still pretty easy, right? Well, on the third phase, he can do one of 3 different things. He can either shoot 3 rocks at you immediately, which is exactly what you want, it's very fast, since you can just kill him immediately. He can use a charge attack, which is a little bit slower, but when after he's done with the charging attack, he will choose one of the 3 options again. The third option being his ink attack. He will first try to suck you, then shoot a rock at you, and then use his ink attack, which means he will darken the room for about 20 seconds, and you just have to wait for him to finish. So it's very slow. We will actually get to see it too. Toast already got the sucking attack, so 1 rock and now the ink attack. This is why this boss isn't liked by a lot of people, because you can just randomly lose a lot of time. You will never get more than 2 ink attacks if you deflect all the rocks, but 2 ink attacks still means that you would lose 40 seconds over 0 inks. So it's still a pretty big time loss you can get here, especially if you also get some charges. Toast got 1 ink, that's pretty standard, pretty nice. I would never complain about 1 ink. 1 ink plus any kind of charges I would already complain about, especially since charges can be very slow too. Sometimes he just charges across the whole room before he attacks again. Can be very annoying. Alright, Toast is actually on a pretty good pace so far. This is definitely PB pace. Grand, unfortunately, after missing or forgetting the magical boomerang, and then missing Boster clipping, it's not looking too hot for him, but there can still definitely be a comeback. So after Temple of Droplets, something you just cannot forget is upgrading the sword one more time. This is also a common mistake that new runners make, because it's just so easy to get into the next dungeon. But yeah, if you forget to upgrade the sword, you will get 2 Palace of Winds, stand in front of the big block, and can't push it because you only have 2 links instead of 3. Let's see how many ink attacks Grand gets here. Maybe he gets a little bit luckier. Alright, is it happening? Do we see the infamous Zero Ink? Nope, we don't. What a surprise. Alright, let's hope Grant actually doesn't die here. If he gets another ink, it's gonna get a little bit scary. He's standing so close to him too, he's gonna get sucked in. Uh-oh. That ain't good. Alright, so over at Toast screen, in just a bit. I'm scared. Don't die, Grant. He almost died. Alright, over at Toast screen, we can see using the occurring glitch a few more times will let us get 2 Palace of Winds very quickly. If the occurring glitch is active, you can also just walk through most NPCs. So the NPCs blocking the stairs here that lead up to Palace of Winds just don't do anything for us. They do not do their job very well. So Toast has a pretty significant lead at this point. He's been on a pretty good run overall. Grant has had a few troubles here and there, but as I said, everything can happen in this game. The last boss can be very dumb, to say the least. So Palace of Winds also has a pretty big skip now. It actually... Ooh. Okay, well, first of all, the first screen is a little bit annoying. Toast got through it pretty easy. Sometimes the P-heads can be in bad positions, sometimes the Stalfos can even... Hello? But most of the time it's not too bad unless you watch my PB. But yeah, don't watch my PB. So upcoming is the Wizrobe fight here. Toast is gonna use the Lantern and bombs. The Lantern actually kills Wizrobes in one hit. You just have to touch them with the Lantern. It's pretty nice. The hitbox is a little bit wonky, but if you're used to it, you can get some pretty quick kills on them. He did miss the cycle here. You can one cycle the last cycle as well. You actually get 2 extra cycles, but all good still. A more old-fashioned strat is using bombs and the sword, which is something I still do. It looks a bit cooler, but for most people it's a bit more difficult to execute. I use it because I don't like the Lantern's hitbox, but if you're used to it, it's not a big deal to use the Lantern either. Here you can also do a smart jump to get onto the platform without going to the right side first. And speaking of the right side, if you decided to skip the bracelets earlier, you can actually go right there and try to use a fight to get Cutscene Ocarina Glitch to skip the bracelets. Now what is Cutscene Ocarina Glitch? Well, usually Ocarina Glitch is used for, off of staircases, or doors, as we have learned. But you can also use the start of a cutscene to activate the Ocarina Glitch. Now what does that mean? Well, after a fight, a cutscene starts, for example, a key falls down or a door opens. Only specific cutscenes work, but on the right there is one that works. And it's one frame, you have to play the Ocarina right when the cutscene starts. If you do miss it, and if you're too late and the cutscene goes through, you of course do not get a second chance, so you would have to save and quit, or rather, not save and quit, but soft reset. So you would have to save beforehand. Now if you do miss it here and have to soft reset, you lose 1.5 minutes. As opposed to if you get it first try, you save 1 minute 50 seconds, something like that. And it's very difficult to get it because it's just so inconsistent, so most people don't go for it. It's especially not advised to do in races. I don't know anyone who would do it in races. Except for me maybe, but that's a different story, right guys? It's something that so far only I have done in runs, and even I only did it because I was bored and wanted to do a no reset run to derust, and it just so happened to get it. We will not see it today, but if you're curious, there is footage of it out there. Basically, what you would skip is pushing those pods that you saw Toast push just a few seconds ago. Grant will push them again, so you won't miss the exciting pod pushing. But you just get a key from somewhere else. You have to do a little bit of a detour, get a key from somewhere else, and then go back here and use the key on the left side here, where Toast will use this small key in just a little bit. Right here. So you would skip going to the right, pushing the pods, shrinking, going into that upper cave, and getting the small key from there. Ooh, Grant almost got the one cycle. Alright, so since I've explained Cutscene Ocarina Glitch already, something I haven't mentioned is that there is another place here where I can get Cutscene Ocarina Glitch. And this is actually a Cutscene Ocarina Glitch that most people do go for, because if you do get it, you just save like 30 to 40 seconds. If you don't get it, you don't save that time, but you also don't lose anything. Which is, after this fight, once you defeat these two guys, a key will drop down. If you use the beginning of that cutscene and press the Ocarina Glitch just on the right frame, ooh, the Ocarina rather, that was 1 frame early. That was very close. You would get would activate the Ocarina Glitch. You would still go into this room here, but here you would just be able to walk down. Because if the Ocarina Glitch is active, you can walk over water or air or anything. Since it's on a quote-unquote lower layer. That's not true. But yeah, you can walk over air and everything. So we just go down here and then go right again. You would skip these rooms here to the left. The upper part isn't a big deal. The lower part has a moblin fight. And the room on the right, of course, you had to push a block, or a pod rather, and charge the sword, which the Stalfos can sometimes be a little bit annoying as well. So getting it is pretty nice because you just skip some annoying stuff. As we can see, this fight can be a bit of a nuisance. And here you can see Grant push the pods, very exciting. But yeah, that's enough about cutscene OGs. Usually not something that's talked about too much, but they are a pretty big part nowadays of this game, since they have so much potential. But enough of that, let's do more boss art clipping. Now you can also do boss art clipping with the lantern. You don't have to have the magical boomerang. Of course, in Temple of Droplets, we have to use the Magical Boomerang because we don't have the Lantern yet. Since we want to skip the Flippers, we have to get the Magical Boomerang to skip the whole left side. But here we do have the Lantern. Using the Lantern for it is just a tiny bit faster than the Boomerang because you don't have to throw it. What you use in the end doesn't matter too much, but it lets us go pretty fast and easy to the boss fight. So we skip the whole second half of this dungeon. York can be a bit of a pain as well. The first 2 cycles are very consistent. You just have to hit the eyes. Any formation will work. Even though the eye pattern like tries to tell you which formation you have to use, every formation works on every eye pattern. That one doesn't matter. On the 3rd cycle, the blue York will fly around randomly and shoot these lightning bolts at you randomly. On the 2nd phase here, it also shoots it at you, but in a specific, time window. And in specific places, whereas on the 3rd cycle it's all just completely random. Which is why it can be quite annoying. Alright, will Grant actually get Cutscene OG? Let's see. Do we see it once today? That was very early. We'll have to play it. Oh, never mind. Alright, Toast is almost dead. He did get a fairy though, so that's good. You can actually get a heart refill before this boss fight. The pots have hearts, but you can also, after getting the boss key, you can use the magical boomerang on the anti-fairies to get fairies from them. Which is what a lot of runners do if they're low on hearts, which you usually are after the ball and chain guys. Alright, so the last fight is very easy because the blue York is already defeated and won't be able to annoy you anymore. And that was a good Gyurk fight. All on 2nd cycle was a little bit sloppy, but it's all good. I do not want to be too picky. You can have some really bad Gyurk fights, although it's mostly because of the 3rd cycle if you do have bad Gyurk fights. It's very easy to lose like 20 to 30 seconds here. Alright, one more boss or clipping. Last one for today. I can't speak anymore. Alright, I hope Grand will get a few more hearts. I'm not sure if he got a fairy or not. If he did, then he'll be fine. I do cry every time. Oh yeah, on the blue Gyurk there, you charge a spin attack. Once the eye opens, the spin attack can hit it twice, which then one cycles that phase. Sometimes the spin attack only hits once. It depends on where the eye is and which way you charge the spin attack. So it's just kind of up to RNG really. Ooh, jumped a little bit too far. Alright, let's see what the 3rd cycle here has in store for us. So far pretty nice, only two lightning attack ball thingies. Ooh, they didn't even hit the clones. Nice and clean 2 cycle. Ooh, almost a perfect Gyurk fight. Also, charging to the right here isn't the best idea because, yeah, this can happen. I saw it coming, but he got cloneless, so it doesn't matter. So many things are happening. So, with 2 specific eye formations, you can also hit them without any clones. It's a bit precise, there are only a few pixels that work, but Grant got it, because he knows the pixels. He's too good for me. So it didn't matter too much that he lost his charged spin attack. Alright, now we have the Force Sword. The only thing that lets us do is... Wait, what that the Force Sword lets us do is shoot beams with the spin attack, which doesn't do much. We needed to finish the game though. So in the next stream here, we will do another glitch called cutscene walking. We will activate 2 cutscenes at the same time, and then walk around and charge spin attacks during the cutscene. Now usually while these guys are unfreezing, you cannot move around. But with cutscene walking, activating the Ezo cutscene and the first unfreezing cutscene at the same time, we can walk around during it and just chain it together. It's a little bit difficult to see that this is actually cutscene walking unless you've played this game before. But trust me, you usually cannot walk around during the unfreezing animations. Ooh, he almost got trolled by the blue curse. That was very risky to go for. But very nice, got Ocarina Glitch first try too. If the blue curse hits you, you cannot use any items for 15 seconds. So you lose a lot of time if that thing hits you. Or the red one for that matter. But that was very, very smooth by Toast. I am impressed. And now Grand is getting the second intro. So here we have an interesting cannonball strat that is actually pretty precise. We put on a bomb and pick it up early enough so that it explodes right when the cannon guys on the left shoot, while we're on the right side and try to deflect the ones on the right with a sword slash. Now this is a little bit precise and difficult to execute. It's funny because this trick has existed for a very, very long time, and all the way back when, like 2014, this trick was considered not difficult, but nowadays people just miss it all the time, including me. It's become one of the most difficult tricks in DHC, or just in general, I guess. One of the most precise things that people mess up all the time. Maybe Grand will get it, so that we'll actually get to see what it looks like. Messing up a little bit. Also got trolled by the Moblin earlier. DHC is actually the most difficult dungeon out of all of them. It's very, very easy to lose time here. Messing up the cannonball strat alone loses 15 seconds. You have to do 4 Ocarina glitches here, which Toast already got 2 stairwalks, which is something that can happen if you do the inputs too late. 1 stairwalk loses about 8 seconds, so 2 stairwalks is already another 16 seconds lost. That's already 30 seconds lost off of a good DHC up to this point, I want to say. Also played the Ocarina glitch, I believe, twice, so it's very easy to lose a lot of time quickly here. Of course, using the Ocarina glitch again to just walk past a lot of things, or walk over a lot of things, I want to say. If you spawn inside a wall, but the wall isn't too thick, you can just jump out of it. Or if your subpixels are good, you can just walk out of it. But that's a different story. Alright, let's see if Grand gets the the cannonball strat. Ooh, nice, alright. We did get to see it today. Meanwhile, Toast is making his way onto the last Ocarina glitch of the run, which is also a special one because we use it to do door jumps, which we haven't seen yet. It's also something that's only done in this dungeon and doesn't even work in a lot of other places. The HC is quite special in that regard. But if the Ocarina glitch is active, it lets us jump inside of doorways, which we usually cannot do. Now if you go very close to the loading zone and hug the doorway on the bottom side, we then jump. If we then jump, we get clipped into the wall inside the doorway just a little bit. And then if we use that to transition to the left, we'll still be inside the wall a little bit. And the wall is then treated as a ledge, so once we go left and then keep holding left, we'll just jump out of the wall again. It looks like we jump out of the door, but we do actually jump out of the wall. Good explanation. Hope that made sense. Was a little bit all over the place. The second door jump for some reason is more difficult than the first one. No one really knows why, it's just more difficult to time for some reason. So it's kind of funny, whenever people start learning this game, they don't have troubles with the first one, but then they usually ask someone, why can't I get the second door jump? Why is it so much more difficult than the first one? Why is it different? No one really knows why, it's just for some reason more difficult to do. Also, you can get a quick kill on the Starknet here. Toast had a very nice fight. If you roll up to him before he spawns if you're right at the middle of the room, so if you roll just before that, you will be in a good position to slash him before he can start moving. And if you get good slashes and keep being near him, don't get pushed back too far, you can just stun lock him and hit him 7 times to get a quick kill. That's not the reason though, Wink. The timing for it is different. That's what I'm talking about. Ooh, Toast actually got the good ghost RNG. You want the correct ghost to be on the right side, of course, but you never expect it. They both got really fast second door jumps though, so all good. Whatever, then for you guys the timing isn't different. Alright, so as usual, Toast didn't split for the DHC boss key split. Something that almost every runner forgets. I forget it all the time, at least. For the last small key, we use another save and quit because it's just faster to get there, but we also use the save and quit once again to reset the RNG, which lets us attempt a darknet manipulation here. Now, getting into this room with the same RNG value every time is pretty easy. People have, nowadays, a lot of different setups. There are quite good ones nowadays. I came up with the first one all the way back, which is not very good, but we have a lot better ones nowadays. The point of it is that this black darknet here charges, which then allows us to jump over it, or over him, kill him quickly, and then use that to kill the other two also pretty quickly. If you do not get the charge, this fight can be a little bit of a mess, since it's it takes so much longer to hit the black dark nuts 7 times. Fighting the red dark nuts is never really a problem, it's usually just the black dark nut, especially if there are still 3 of them there. So getting the Minip is a pretty nice time saver. And now it's time for the lottery. So it starts with Vadi 1. Now you have to slash the outer eyes first. On the first phase it's only 2 eyes, after that it'll be 4 eyes for the next 2 cycles, and then on the last 2 cycles it's 4 eyes again, but they will be covered in some magical thing, which you have to suck away first with a Gust Stir. Once you do slash the 4 eyes, you then have to slash the middle eyes a few times until the next cycle triggers. Sometimes you can get an extra cycle, no one really knows why, sometimes you just do. Even though you do get good slashes. This is also where you would usually get the fairy, as I said earlier. So Toast didn't actually save time doing the 20 rupee minute, but it doesn't really matter all that much. You can use the Gust Jar when the eyes spawn to hit all 4 of them pretty quickly, to suck away the magical barrier thing. And he can also teleport around. He actually did get an extra cycle for whatever reason, it just happens sometimes. That was still a pretty nice Vadi 1 fight though, all things considered. Vadi 1 can teleport around a lot if you get a bad RNG, so you can lose a lot more time there. Vadi 1, once again, lottery. You have to shoot the correct eyes first, and then clone. At least non-task people have to clone. Then slash the 4 eyes with your clones, and then slash the middle eye. On the first cycle, the correct eyes will always be in the front. After that, it's just RNG based. Vadi 2 can walk around wherever he wants. He can be on the fuse tiles, on just wherever he wants to be. Can use a lot of purple stuff attacks and cover the whole screen with it, and even the fuse tiles. So this fight can be very annoying if you get bad RNG. Luckily nowadays we have a 3 cycle strat. You just do the first 2 cycles normally, and then on the third cycle you charge a spin attack, which Toast didn't do. On the third cycle you can charge a spin attack with your clones, which then hits twice, and it does too much damage for the next cycle to trigger, something like that. I'm not exactly sure about the reason why this works, but you do enough damage to skip the next cycle after the spin attack hits twice, and then you do 1 more slash to then kill him. It's weird how his health works here, because it's glitched on the third phase, so it might not make too much sense, but you do have to do the first 2 cycles a little bit in a particular way. It doesn't matter all that much, but if you only slash the middle eye, a lot of the times it will work, or if you use only spin attacks on the first 2 cycles, it will also still work. But if you do something, if you don't get enough slashes in or something, or do a spin attack and then slash a few more times or something, then it will not work, because the health will be in a weird value, and it will still trigger the next cycle correctly. It's been too long since I actually messed it up, so I'm not exactly sure what you have to do to mess it up. To be fair, I haven't done it in a long time in general, so... Anyway, collapse. Not the most exciting part. Collapse only means walking to Vadi 3. Vadi 3, funnily enough, is the easiest out of all of them. He will have to use his weird arm attack first, which then lets you get into his arm, where you then have to fight more eyes. You have to find the correct eye, which is easy in the first arm. The second arm will be all dark, and you have to use the lantern to find your way to the correct eye. Vine is actually in a bit of a bad position here for Toast, but he did manage to get in there. So the right eye is just a little bit more bright, and will also look at you, or look into your direction. For the second arm, you do have to use the lantern to actually see where you're going and where the eye is. After that, it's just playing tennis, as in a few other Zelda games. Vine will start using blue ball attacks, which is 4 blue balls, which you then have to reflect with your clones. It's actually quite precise to reflect the blue balls. A lot of runs have been lost there, even though I said this is the easiest fight. If you're on a good run, and your heart is racing, you're very nervous, you don't pay enough attention to your position, and you're just 1 pixel off or slash the sword too early, then you will miss the blue balls and probably also your run. Now he also has another attack, which is shooting electrical things at you. You can manipulate him into shooting the blue balls by just standing in front of him. If you do miss a blue ball once, he will do the electrical attack, so you would have to then avoid it once or twice. But if you do not mess up any blue ball reflecting good English, then you will not see the attack, usually. The manipulation sometimes doesn't work on the first one. He actually is gonna use a bomb. Come on, Toast. But yeah, that's Wadi 3. And Toast won the race, so congrats to him. It was a pretty nice run all around. He was on PB pace after Pals of Wind still, but messed up a little bit too much in Dark Heart Castle and ended up being too far behind.
On my mic. Shit. Congrats to PPL. I suck. God damn it.
Same though.
151.17.
Not bad.
That's a pretty good time. Isn't that like a minute within PP range?
151, that's like 1.5 minutes,
Okay.
almost 2 minutes.
And legrandgrand is only finishing like a minute and a half behind. So
Yeah, it's not too bad, considering what happened during his run. Did get 2 ink, forgot the magical boomerang, missed a boss clipping and temple with droplets, so only being 2 minutes behind isn't too bad.
And there we go, finishing with a
Right,
152.40 in the end.
Grant actually golded all last 3 splits. That's pretty funny.
So we're just waiting if the two of them want to join us for an interview.
Interview.
Legrandgrand is already in there, so get him in here. Welcome.
Yo,
Yo!
it's me.
Hello, the Grand
God
Grand.
damn. That was such a good end and I fucked up the middle. I'm so mad.
3 gold splits though, let's go.
Yeah, one of them is just like that was insane luck on Darkness. I'm completely screwed up the minute, but I still like got the gold Darknet. It's insane. And gold variety. But man, I'm only like how far behind is it? What was PPL's time? Hold on. 151.
About 1.5
Yeah, I was
minutes.
only 130 behind. Dang, that's really just the 2 mistakes that I did as a voice test.
Yeah, considering what happened, that's really not bad.
And 2 links as well. Oh god. that 2-ink, I was at 1/4, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just going to YOLO it. If I get sucked in, whatever.
That was a very close octo fight.
Yeah, at some point there was like one boulder that grazed me. I was like, oops.
Oops.
And yeah, I went for bufferless OG because I know I'm as consistent with bufferless as buffered, but still like 10%, so no chance. You really should have lost, yeah. Like, if going back, I think the problem with the big key skip is that like I threw the boomerang but was too far out of the door, so like when I reached the door I pressed A but it was too late, so I didn't clip. I think that's what happened.
It was sad.
Yeah. three runs 3 times in a row I felt it. Like, why is that?
Just throw it upwards. Let's go.
So how come like I wasn't synced and ahead of PPL when I got the bow? Because I had a really bad enter cable flame. Everything up to that was like really bad, and I still managed to pull ahead. Like, what happened?
You just played well.
Okay.
It wasn't really anything specifically that happened to PPL.
Okay, so I really should have won. Darkness fight. My god, it's always Darkness fights. I don't understand why so many people have trouble with that. And like, to be fair, like I know why mine messed up, but I only messed up 1 hit. But like, why is Darkness being
That's one
so
too many.
discerning? Yeah. God. At least I made it up with like the DHC Darknets because they were all pretty good. Even though I messed up the strats most of the time, I just had good RNG and played it well.
You got the cannonball strat too.
Yeah. Did PPL miss it?
Yeah.
God, PPL, why?
He lost a lot of time in DHC.
I got
Probably a
all the
minute.
hard stuff, and you fail and failed all the big stuff. Why is that? Like, all the big things, I've messed it up. Also, yeah, I forgot the 3 rupees and realized like while I was getting the water. Wait, I forgot something. And
Yeah, I
then
was
the
really scared you
boomerang-
were gonna forget it.
The boomerang, I did not. I actually like completely forgot to grab it. That's the first time ever that I forget it. Never did
It
that in
happens to
practice or in
everyone.
runs. It's
At least you realized fast enough. You weren't in Temple of Droplets in front of the boss door and we're like, wait a second, where's my boomerang?
well, I only realized because I saw the chat, and that was after my reset because I messed up the OG. So yeah.
Cheating.
If I got the OG and I was like, yeah, okay, let's go, and
Yeah,
just
that's-
boomerang, I would have been almost even more sad.
Oh, well.
OG went from 99% to 10%. Same. I had some really bad Ocarina glitches this run.
So I guess PPL is dodging us again, just because he's a wussy. So no PPL
No,
interview.
PPL, never expect PPL in voice chat.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's unacceptable. If he wins the tournament, I will force him.
Funnily enough, this is actually still like my second best run.
I just take my gun out and force him. You heard that, PPL? But yeah, I mean,
I hope not.
I mean, it's a really good, like, 152.40 is like a great time for a tournament race. Like,
Nah, it's not good. I had 2 ink. I forgot the boomerang. I messed up the BK skip. That's just unforgivable. That's just. Oh, that could have been such a much better run. God damn. I'm mad.
Free PB.
I know I can PB easily if I don't mess up big stuff. Oh well. It was fun. it was really interesting seeing everyone saying like Bokchang thing synced and all that after Ocarina and stuff. That was pretty great. And then I threw really hard. Yeah, PPL versus Farzodul next on winner. I think it's Warner Quarter. And I think that I'm hitting like, I don't know. I don't even think that we know who I'm facing, right? 216. 216 is either Leader Bacon, Bamboo Shadow, or Mike. And after that, that's either Darky or Flames, or like there's a bunch of people. I'm pretty sure I can make my way through losers.
Probably.
I know I can.
Up to Darky.
No, I'm bidding Darky. Don't worry. He's a rusty old boy. He's gonna let
Let's
me
go.
win my second place. Or like just own Fire Turtle and I own him after that, and then we get French first and second. Let's do that.
The unexpected winner.
Unexpected winner. It's going to be Darky, and I'm going to be second because he
I
deserves that.
cannot
After
believe Quo is going to win the tournament.
I know. If you want him
Madman.
to lose, you just mention Glearox on the wall, and he's going to leave. He actually legit left, but that was because he had school.
Yeah, I know.
You
Oh yeah, and
it.
thanks for starting 30 minutes early.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
But
Are you
yeah,
still sleepy, or did that race manage to keep you awake?
I'm basically asleep.
Okay, neat.
do runs now, Toads.
Hello?
Yes? What? Welcome, Toads,
No.
to the stream. Glad you're here.
Hey guys.
What up, nerds? But yeah, so this makes PPL progress to the next round, which is actually round 4 already. Time for the lower bracket to catch up, by the way, guys. Winky winky. Just get going. Because PPL wants to win this. Nah, just kidding. We all know that Toad's going to win by surprise.
Yeah, no, I want my Salty run back against PPL. We've been 0-2, so now I need to win the third one. The first one I lost because I died to Vad is 3. This one I lose because I'm dumb. Better win the third one.
Relatable.
Oh well.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, at that point, just let Toads get snug, and we are going to cut it here. GG against. Yeah, bless. GG again to both runners. Congrats to PPL, and legrandgrand will just, well, beat somebody up in the lower bracket. Or not.
GG.
Who knows? And yeah, we're signing off for now. So thanks for watching. And next race is actually, I should know. I do know. I promise. I'm not checking it right now. Next race on Thursday actually, 7 p.m. CST, which is 5 p.m. UTC, which is Darky Squid against a Flames. That's round 3 actually as well. So see you there and have a good one.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Alright, bye bye. Thanks for watching.